Hey, y'all, I'm Whitney Miller, and I'm on the Hollywood Raw podcast, and we talk about everything from music to relationships to crazy ayahuasca ceremonies. So make sure to check it out.
Hey guys, welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page. Make sure you drop a comment, like, subscribe,
do all the fun things.
follow
everything. We're here to entertain you guys.
What are you waiting for? Hurry up, let's go.
Enjoy.
Whitney, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's good to have you. Where are you right now? Where are you?
I am in Nashville, Tennessee.
So how do you like Nashville? Are you sick of all the bachelorette parties every weekend, or what's the vibe like in Nashville?
Man, it is wild. It's the bachelorette capital of the U.S. or something insane, and they're everywhere. They're like mosquitoes. But I don't mind them. They're out having a good time. I would probably be doing the same thing, so I cannot hate.
So explain to me. I have never been to Nashville. I've heard amazing things about it. Explain Nashville to someone who has never been there before.
Nashville is it's called Music City because there's music everywhere. It's the one place that they have stages in some of the banks. Not today for President's Day, but in some of the banks, like Taco Bell's, they'll have live music. You cannot run away from live music if you tried, which is really cool. And everyone here is extremely talented too. But then also, like we were talking about, we have the bachelorettes that come in and they wear their pink furry cowgirl hats and their white boots and their like fringe rhinestones, and we call them woo girl because you just constantly hear, even when you're at home, you just hear woo, and it's just them on like their little tractors going around town just getting lit.
Love it.
Do you run into country music, like big country music artists a lot in Nashville, or is it just sort of
totally all the time? I mean, some of the biggest stars will just be out at some of these dive bars, biggest country stars, but also biggest country music writers who have insane amount of number one hits, an insane amount of cuts. And they'll just be at these little dive bars. And sometimes they'll pop in to perform. Like, you just never really know what's going to happen here in Nashville, which is one of the reasons why I moved here. I wanted to be in the melting pot of it all. And I came from Austin, and Austin is just not like that.
Yeah.
So when there is like a big star hanging out in a dive bar, do the people in there kind of leave them alone because they're used to it? Because I feel like if they were in LA, they'd be swarmed or mobbed, and it just wouldn't be a comfortable situation. Is it just different there? Like, people are a little more chill?
People are definitely a little more chill, I would say. And I don't know if that's just because it's, the South and Tennessee, and we're just a little bit more, respectful of people's time and space and what they want to do. But there's definitely still people who will come up and take pictures and like record you without knowing that they're being recorded and things like that. But from what I've seen, a lot of the times people seem to be pretty respectful. Now, if you're Morgan Wallen going into, a little dive bar here, it's probably going to be chaotic for sure. But I do find that some people are a bit nicer.
So you came from Austin. When you left Austin, you moved to Nashville for music. But what was obviously Austin's become very popular in the past few years with the Joe Rogans of the world moving there. Then you just hear how cool it is and how Austin is just the place to be. Has Austin gotten a little bit corny, or is it still cool?
It's very different. And I hate being this person that's like, oh, Austin was so much cooler back in the day. You don't even know. But I am that person. And I think it's lost some of its charm, not to mention that most of LA has now moved to Austin. So it's brought in new restaurants and new energy, which I really appreciate. But then also it's missing that character that I think I fell in love with it so long ago with. And, but at the same time, Nashville and Austin are fairly similar. We call them sister cities because they have very similar vibes. But I feel like Nashville is Austin 10 years ago.
Yeah. But here's the thing is, Dax, her journey to music has been very interesting because you were Miss United States. And then but then after that you start to become, I guess you were kickboxing, and then you were becoming you're a commentator on kickboxing. Obviously you have your podcast and stuff, but When is that was the start? Your first break, I guess, was becoming Miss USA.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Not into music, but it was just something that I wanted to do. I competed in Miss Texas prior to that, and I was a professional wake surfer during that same time. So my life kind of just took a hard left, like in the best way. And yeah, so I'd say I won Miss Texas and then went to Miss United States and won that. And from there, I was able to gain a following and really find out kind of what I wanted to speak on and how I wanted to present myself and how I wanted to use my platform. And for me, it was really just about, inspiring other people to do whatever the hell they wanted. Because, as Miss United States, going into fighting was like the craziest thing that I could possibly do. And no one really understood it, which is exactly what I wanted. So I kind of just kept that going and going.
And do you look back on your time in pageants as a positive thing? Because I feel like I hear mixed reviews with people that have gone through it. Like, man, it was really tough, or no, this was a great experience. I learned so much of it. What was your experience?
I wasn't in it for very long, right? So, I mean, lucky for me, I won Miss Texas, won Miss United States. I'm done, right? So I was only in it for 2 years or a year and a half at that point. So for me, I had a really good experience. There's definitely always bad apples. There's always like weird situations. There's cattiness, there's competitiveness. But at the end of the day, we are competing with each other. And I think me having an athletic background, I took that same mindset into pageants. So I just didn't really let it phase me all that much. I do know I had to deal with some body insecurities because I'm naturally very, very fit. I've just always been that way. I'm not going to have the supermodel body. I'm not going to, be super skin and or thin and feminine in that way. And that was something that was really pushed on me. And I just don't have the ability to do that. So for a while, it was challenging for me to like work through those insecurities. But then eventually I was just like, whatever, like clearly it worked. So I'm going to keep it.
If your child came to you and said, "Hey, I want to get into this," would you be down for that?
Yeah. If I mean, we would have to sit down and like really talk about it, why do you want to do it? But I don't think I would prevent my kid from doing whatever the hell they wanted, to be honest. Because my parents couldn't prevent me. I mean, I grew up, they always said, Whitney's going to do what Whitney's going to do. It's like, don't touch the hot stove, Whit. And I'm going to be like, let me just touch it to see how hot it is, And that's just my mentality for life.
Yeah.
So Texas is difficult, I guess, places for pageants. It's one of the most, I know that because I just met someone who does pageants and they said how competitive the pageant scene is when you did it. So you just came into your first pageant and won?
So I did one pageant when I was younger, like 15. That was like this big. And then just realized it wasn't for me. So when I went into Miss Texas, I just realized, I'm going to go solely as myself. I'm not going to try to be someone I'm not. And it was a little bit shocking for other people there who had been, competing their entire lives. And I decided to do Miss Texas 1 week before the pageant. And
that's wild.
Yeah. I had a friend call me and was like, "Hey, do you want to compete in Miss Texas?" And I immediately said no, because I was competing in wake surfing. I was doing all these other things that was just way more my vibe. But as cliche as it sounds, I just felt like I would regret it if I didn't do it. I don't know if it was that little voice I was like, give it a try, or it's just my competitive nature that's like, ooh, let me see how I can do this. And that next week I went down and just made a vow to myself that I'm going as Whitney, and that's it. I'm not going to try to be pageant Patty. Someone else can have that covered. I'm just going to be myself, and worked out.
I got to think some of the other women were probably just looking at you like, are you kidding me? This woman walks in and starts just beating us all on her first pageant. Like that would, after all this work, I bet a lot of them have put in for so many years, you walk in and just dominate. What was the, I always think the questions can be really silly for like pageants. Like, I don't know, how can you have world peace? Like, what was one of the most interesting questions you were asked during a pageant?
I remember being asked, one I actually really enjoyed was, if you were on a reality TV show today, which one would you be most successful at and why?
That's a good one.
I know. I was like, okay, look, we're getting out of the world peace thing and like really talking about some stuff. And I said The Amazing Race only because my brother was on The Amazing Race and like he won it, and so I get all the inside scoop on that. Plus, me competing with people around the world and being able to travel and do all these crazy things sounds hella fun to me.
Oh yeah, I was this close to being on it, and it looked like so much fun, like just an incredible experience. Like I feel like The Amazing Race really is one of those shows that you will get a lot out of, and like to get to travel around the world nonstop, like that just seems like a really fun show to be on. Good answer on a quick thinking quick.
Thanks. I mean, luckily, like I said, my brother was on it. So it was like the first thing that came to mind. And I was like, oh, well, this works out perfectly. He can teach me all of his ways. But he said, that they had seriously the best time. They did it twice. And from the first point that they did it to the second time was like, I think maybe like 15 years in between, something like that. And this show has changed so drastically, the way that they run it and how long it is. And it was just interesting to see the compare the two times.
Did he complain at all about them not giving them a lot of food? Because some of the people I talked to said that food was like kind of weak, and then they wouldn't get a lot of it, and so they were hungry a lot of the times, and that would cause a little more like people getting upset or angry, but it would cause drama on the show and it make it a little more interesting. Did you hear anything like that?
So wait,
I don't remember the food thing. So now they were like season 31 or 2 or something like that, and totally different. But I don't remember the food thing.
all right. So wait, you win Miss USA. How does your life change? Does every kind of agent or manager reach out to you saying, "Hey, I want to represent you. Hey, I want to send you out for stuff"? Like, what happens then?
No, you're.
Fuck.
We're just gonna go with it. So
Okay, sounds good. Basically, you're just kind of owned by the organization. You're then employed by the organization. And so you're told where to go and what to do and what events you have coming up and what photo shoots you have coming up. And they basically source, endorsements and commercials and all of that. So yeah, it was basically just a year of being employed under the organization. And I had a job at the time and I just didn't have time to do both. And so I just was solely focused on Miss United States for that entire year.
but like what? I guess the question is like, did people start just coming out of the woodworks to, I guess, work with you or work, try to get you to do jobs with them? Because I feel like when you get such a big platform, like winning a title like that, I got to imagine everyone's wanting to do something with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a cool part of it. You get to work with a lot of different people. But still, again, I wasn't able to book anything myself. It had to all go through the organization. So basically anything that I did had to be approved. And so probably, even more companies and people would hit them up and they would say no as opposed to yes. So it really just matters what kind of narrative they want to build around you a bit. It's you don't get to write your own story for that year. And me being me, I was a little bit of the black sheep. There's a love-hate relationship because I'm definitely a type of person that writes my own story regardless of what people want to say about it. So there is definitely some tug and pull, but overall I look back with like very positive, thoughts about it all.
And what's the rule? Like when you leave the house, do you have to have like the sash and the crown on? Because I feel like I see women walking through the airport in their full like outfits,
Dude,
making sure everyone knows they won the title.
Yeah, I hated that so much. I mean, you don't have to, not every single time, but like, yeah, you're walking through an airport and you're wearing a sash. Like, no, I'm sorry. Like, that is just bizarre to me. Hence one of the reasons why we had, we were butting heads. I'm like, I'm not wearing that right now. But yeah, a lot of the times you just had to walk around and wear it. Like it was a part of your daily, backpack or something.
But is that so that they can like, people are going to come up and talk to you and take pictures? It's like a good kind of marketing campaign at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So they're like, look, here's Miss United States. This is what she's doing. And she's just living her life. And people will walk by and like, you know, a lot of people don't even watch pageants. You know what I mean? So they don't really know. They don't even know what Miss United States is, but they have the title. And so if you see somebody walking around with Miss United States, all of a sudden you're drawn to that because that's like what our society is, right?
What was the weirdest place you've ever been asked for a photo?
Oh God. I have I don't know. I don't
Because
think
I gotta imagine like you're coming out of the stall wearing a crown, and someone's gonna be like, "Hey, can we get a quick photo?" And you're like, "Not right now."
I wash my hands, please. There's definitely been bathroom photos for sure. But I feel like that's not too weird for girls, right? Let's take a bathroom
True.
selfie. Um,
I guess it's different. I've been asked for a photo in the bathroom, and I did not enjoy it.
yeah,
So, but I guess it's different for women.
yeah, exactly. We make all kinds of friends in the bathroom, you know. So it wasn't that weird to me. And now if you open the stall door, I would be like, "This is trippy." Okay.
All right. Well, what was the I guess the one door that opened to something that you got to do when you had that title? Was there a cool event that you went to, somewhere that you traveled to, that you look back and you were like, winning that title allowed me to do this, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I would say, let's see. What was one of the coolest things I got to do? I did get to travel overseas to like visit. Where did I go? I think I went to Prague. I went to Prague and hung out with their winner and was just able to see this new place. And they had this huge gala that was just absolutely beautiful. And I think for me, I have such a travel bug that anytime I get to leave and go anywhere, it's just my favorite thing to do. So and also you get that trip paid for, which is even better. It
Mhm.
doesn't come out of your own pocket. So Prague is now my absolute favorite place to go, regardless. If you haven't traveled there, I highly recommend it. It's just it's beautiful, it's vibey, it's like sexy and romantic. Definitely put it on your list.
Love it. I have wanted to go there. I was supposed to go this summer, and we ended up doing like Copenhagen and Amsterdam instead. But I do want to make it back there at one point in my life.
You have to.
So then tell me about this like transition. So, you've got the title now, you start to transition. What was that like for you?
The transition in Miss United States or out of it?
Out of United States and into some of the other stuff that you've done.
Yeah. So, like I said, during Miss United States, I was dating my ex at the time, and we had a company called On It, and we had a bunch of fighters coming in that would, UFC fighters that would come in and train at the facilities. And I realized, oh, this is kind of fun. Maybe I'll do this for fitness purposes only, but then realized, oh crap, here comes my competitive itch that I want to see how I'm going to do with this. So I started competing in jujitsu and got a blue belt in jujitsu and made the decision that I was going to be the first national beauty pageant winner to take a fight and go to full fight camp. And I really did that because one, that's just how I operate. I love trying to challenge myself in different ways, but I really wanted to challenge other people on what they thought a, pageant winner could do or what she should be doing. And, Miss United States to fighting just doesn't compute in a lot of people's minds. And I made the announcement that I was going to go take a fight. And so I went to full fight camp in Thailand, which was one of the most intense things I've ever done. For a little over a month, I just got my ass kicked every single day. And then I did fight camp out in Santa Monica under Olympic boxer Tony Jeffries, and again kept getting punched in the face way too much until I learned to move my head and took a fight. And so my world was really flipped on its head. But I would say that the transition into fighting wasn't that hard for me because I'm just so comfortable in athletics. I would say that I'm more comfortable in that than I am in the beauty pageant space. So it was a little bit more seamless other than, almost getting knocked out multiple times. And I now probably have some brain damage.
Now, in all honesty, were you worried about messing up your face at all? Like, you see some fighters that they've got like cauliflower ear and stuff like these other things that don't go away. Were you concerned at all? Or are you like, no, I don't care. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, I was concerned for sure. I mean, I tried to protect my face as much as I can. I did start getting a little bit of cauliflower ear. So then I started wearing headgear and I didn't have to worry about that too much. But your face heals a lot faster than most people would think.
True.
So it wasn't, and I knew that this wasn't going to be my path. I wasn't going to become a fighter, right? And I still don't consider myself a fighter. It was just something that I really wanted to try, and I went fully into it for sure. But I knew, I wasn't going to be punched in the face for 10 years to come. I was able to, mitigate it a little bit here and there and just be a little bit smart about it. Plus, I knew I eventually wanted to do commentating, for kickboxing. So I had to know exactly what I was talking about. I wasn't going to be just the cute girl that interviews people without actually knowing exactly what is going on.
100%. Like if you haven't been a part of it, who's going to take you serious?
Right.
Like you have to have some skin in the game for them to even want you as doing commentary on a sport like that. So that was really smart of you to do that.
Thanks. Yeah, that's how I had to come for it. I know a lot of people are out there and they can interview without, playing football or without playing baseball or NASCAR or whatever it is. But I think for fighting specifically, like in order for me to feel like I was worthy of that job or I would do a good enough job at it, I needed to know what it was like to be in the ring with someone who wanted to take your head off.
Whitney, a lot of people who've been following your career over the years have noticed, know you from when you lived in Austin, and then you were in a relationship with Aubrey Marcus. You guys were engaged for quite a bit. You're no longer engaged, but are you and Aubrey still close, or what's the relationship there?
We were close for a little bit. We're okay. I would say we're okay. I don't think there's any bad blood. We just don't really talk anymore. I feel like for me, when I went through the breakup of it all, I put on a happy face most of the time and was being a little bit overly positive about things because I'm the type of person that likes to not rock the boat, right? I'm like, cool, everything's fine, like don't rock the boat. And that just wasn't allowing me to really heal because I just wasn't being genuine on how I felt about things. And so I was just kind of like stuffing it under the rug. And as adults, we know that that's not going to get us anywhere. And so when I actually released this last song, 15 Minutes of Fame, very much so inspired by my time, going through that breakup, it allowed me to kind of alchemize some of the feelings and emotions that I wasn't saying out loud, that I was too afraid to say out loud. And so it brought it up to the surface for me. And I let them know, I was like, right now I'm just in a place where I can't talk to you. I just want to go through my own process and deal with my own emotions. And I feel like if I'm being overly nice, it just didn't feel genuine or authentic. And that's not fair to him and it's not fair to me. And it just felt weird. So right now I'm in a place of not speaking to him, really. Not if he reaches out, it's not that like I won't respond, but it's just we're not homies, I guess you could say.
It's just life. Again, at the end of the day, you're just in two different places, and it's life. During that time, you guys were also, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, like in an open relationship. Is that something that are you still in a relationship, and is that what you still kind of do today, or what's your vibe like on that?
No. I am in a relationship with. He could not be more opposite than Aubrey, like to the extreme, which is hilarious. And to me, that feels really good right now. Like I do see, I've worked with a lot of couples. I know people who are in open relationships that it really works for them. For me and Aubrey, it worked for a while, but it's just so much work, and like, that's just not where I feel that safe. And for me, like comfort and stability in a relationship is the utmost of importance. And being in an open relationship, at least ours did not have that, very stableness to it.
So what's the work of it? Like you're saying, it takes a lot of work. Now, where's the work involved? Is it just like, hey, you go do your thing, I'm going to do mine, I'm going to see other people, you're going to see tell me about the work actually.
Yeah, if it was that easy, there wouldn't be that much. You're like, go on, we'll hang out with somebody else. I don't care. No, but it's a type of relationship that heightens every insecurity that you've ever had, right? And so it just puts a magnifying glass on that. And if you don't do the work, which is either, go to therapy or be able to communicate with your partner or have a coach or do whatever healing modality that you need to call on to work through your own shit, it's going to be even harder. And so for us, it was constantly like we were waking up almost in a ceremony. And it was just like, okay, what's going to come up today? And how am I going to work through it today? Like you just never had a moment to take a breath, which is good in a lot of ways because it really forces you to get deep with your partner constantly. Like you cannot sweep things under the rug, which is a little bit easier in a monogamous relationship. We can just sweep it and we'll just deal with that some other time. This you don't get to. It's like in the moment right now, we have to talk about it. We have to analyze it and we have to work through it every single day.
So you had, when you were with him, you had other boyfriends or just other guys you're hooking up with, or what did you have? Like I've seen him around, but what did you have exactly?
He was definitely more active with the open relationship. For me, I had a boyfriend at one point throughout the time. I mean, we were in this for like 8 years, you know what I mean? So it was like, you could have a boyfriend or you could have someone that you would just see every once in a while. It really like, you could just decide whatever works for the relationship at that point.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, it's pretty wild.
It's fascinating. Yeah, no, it's fascinating just hearing a different perspective on relationships.
You did.
Well, that's what it was. Good.
No, go. It's just you had one kind of ready to stay boyfriend, but then you'd go out with your friends, and it was cool for you to just go out, meet a guy, and have fun for a night.
Well, no, I've never personally, I've never had a one night stand, so I just couldn't do that in general. But no, most of the time it's talked about, and so it would be like example, if I were to meet somebody out, I would meet somebody out. There was nothing that could happen. We could exchange numbers. Then Aubrey and I would have to talk about who this person is and what do we think about it and how would that benefit the relationship and yada, yada, yada. And then, so a lot of the times you're just talking about what's going on and how it could work and how it could not work and everything that comes up along with that, as opposed to actually acting out on it. And I think that's like a big misconception about open relationships, is that it's kind of like a free for all. And it's like, yeah, you can go do whatever you want. Some people can structure their relationship in that way if it works for them. Some people don't. And we didn't do that. It had to be very explicitly talked about in our relationship to see if it was something that was beneficial to either one of us or not.
So would you come home and he'd have a girl there, and what would you do if like he had a girl, and where would you go, in the other room? Like what? It's kind of your home too. So how does that work?
Yeah, no, that would never happen.
Yeah,
like,
always goes to their place then.
It's separate, because we lived together and that was our home base. And so, yeah, usually it was just talked about, planned, like, hey, Wednesday, I'm interested in going to see so-and-so at this time. I'll either be back at this time or I'm going to stay the night and be back at this time. Like, it was very structured, and that's just how we had to do it.
How do you separate like the feelings of jealousy in this situation? Because I feel like that would be the number one thing most people would struggle with, is just jealousy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think people get scared of the word jealous. Like, it's like the big J word. You can't be jealous. It's like everyone gets jealous. Like, let's get one thing straight here. And I for sure got jealous, and Aubrey for sure got jealous. But it's really about how you work through that jealousy, because it can rear its head and you can lose your mind. But at the end of the day, regardless of what relationship structure you're in, is that beneficial for the relationship? No. So for me, it was really understanding my why. Like, why am I getting jealous? Where is this coming from for me? And is that true? Like, are the thoughts that I'm having that are creating this jealousy actually true for me? And I used to be extremely jealous before this relationship. Like, you better not be looking at another girl, okay? And going through phones and doing like the whole thing. But then going through the open relationship actually allowed me to understand a lot of my insecurities and where my jealousy was coming from. That now, being in a monogamous relationship, I'm way more understanding and can have a healthier relationship because of the lessons I learned through being in an open relationship.
So now that
Yeah.
you've been in both types of relationships, does an open relationship have more pros or more cons at the end of the day?
For me, it has more cons, but that's for me specifically. I can only speak for myself. I Aubrey may have a different answer. I don't know. And someone else who's in an open relationship may have a different answer. That's what I find so fascinating about relationships in general, is that they're so specific that to the two people or the multiple people that are in that relationship, that us trying to give a blanket, statement or a blanket roadmap of how relationships have to be just kind of seems a little like naive.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
you've done ayahuasca a bunch of times. How many times have you done ayahuasca?
17.
17
Whoa.
times.
Dang.
Yeah, just a
Sheesh.
few.
Damn, that's wild,
Why?
dude. That's
Why? That's like I hear people and it just sounds so rough on your body and brutal. I mean, I guess the outcome people really enjoy, but like it's pretty brutal going through it in the moment, right?
Yeah, for sure. Some ceremonies, I mean, I've only probably have had 2 or 3 ceremonies and I'm like, woo, that was nice. Like, I could do that, no worries. Most of them are just like, God, when is this gonna end? I'm so sick. Why am I seeing demons everywhere? Like, it's a lot.
so every time you've done it, have you gone to like South America to do it? Where is do you go to the same place and do it?
I've done it at a few different facilities, and I'm just a big proponent of going to the jungle and sitting with the shamans in the homeland of it. Whereas I know people are doing it all over the states and trying to legalize it through religious exemptions and whatnot. But that's not my route. I'm always like, I'm going straight to the homeland of it, because I don't know what kind of weird juju is going on here, but I don't want it.
Have you ever sat out a session but watched other people go through it to see what maybe you look like in the middle of it?
No.
Would that scare you away from doing it again?
You know what? No, because, well, so there's been a couple of ceremonies. Like, sometimes you'll drink a cup of ayahuasca and really not feel much. The next night you can drink the same amount and be just blasted off to the cosmos. So there's definitely been ceremonies where I've sat there fairly sober, because you're aware of what's going on around you. You can hear people throwing up, you can hear people crying, you can hear people screaming and things like that. So there's definitely, like, you can definitely understand what's going on around you, and sometimes it gets chaotic.
What does ayahuasca taste like?
Yeah.
It makes me nauseous just thinking about it. Like, I absolutely hate the way, I can't. It's like gross, and it's usually thick, and it's really bitter, and it's like dirty, and it makes
It's like
you
earthy.
like earthy, but like bitterly earthy, like something that you've never tasted before. Sometimes I'll have like a really nasty, strong coffee,
Yeah.
and it reminds me of ayahuasca. But like, imagine the most disgusting, thick coffee that's been like sitting out for a long time, and you just chug it.
Like nothing sounds appealing about doing ayahuasca. Like the taste of it, me just throwing up in front of random strangers, like nothing sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say
Why?
like, woo, let's go do ayahuasca together. It's gonna be a great Sunday fun day. No.
So what is the benefit at the end of the day after I mean you've done it 18 times, so clearly there is a benefit. What is that benefit?
Yeah, I mean, I think you really just get to know yourself. Like, there's a lot of things that it's like a shortcut to a lot of the stuff that you're unable to look at in everyday life. You know what I mean? Some people can say they have an out of body experience. Some people heal a lot of their childhood trauma and have a different perspective on looking at that. So basically, it can just be extremely healing. I mean, they say it's like 20 years of therapy in a few hours.
Gotcha.
Jeez. So when you do it in wherever you go, South America, do you feel safe? Like if something were to go wrong, do you feel like the shaman knows what like they'd be able to help you?
Well, that's the real main thing about it, is that you got to find a reputable spot with people who really know what they're doing. And I think that's one of the scary things about ayahuasca gaining popularity is there's just yahoos serving ayahuasca out of their backyard, and they're not fully trained to know how to handle situations if someone has a mental breakdown or if something happens in the room or can, and so I think making sure you find someone who knows how to handle that is the utmost importance, which is one of the reasons why I basically, if I find a place that I like and I trust, I don't go anywhere else. And I won't even entertain it. People are like, come with me to this place. Come. I'm like, hell no. You have fun. That rodeo's not for me.
If you could equate being on ayahuasca to something else, like it's being super drunk or being on shrooms, or what could you equate it to for someone that has never obviously done it but is curious about the feeling?
Take every drug that you've done at the very same time, including booze, and times it by 50 and sit there in it for at least 8 hours.
Are you in the middle of it? Are you like, I can't wait for this to go away? Because I feel like that's sometimes like when you're super drunk and you're just like, I can't wait for this to not be the feeling anymore. Is it like that, or you're just going with the flow?
Well, it depends. If you're having for me, a lot of the times I'll drink it and it'll start to come on, and it comes on kind of, at least for me, in a little bit of waves, like kind of slow. And immediately I'm regretting it. Immediately I'm like, what? Why am I doing this again? Here you are sitting in the jungle, drinking this weird brew. But then, throughout it, there are points where you just hope to God it ends at any moment. And other times it can be a really positive experience that feels really nice. So you're just kind of floating and it doesn't matter. So it just depends on what comes up for you in that specific ceremony.
That's so fascinating.
So when you do ayahuasca, well, actually, when you did ayahuasca, is that when you had the breakthrough saying I'm going to get into country music? Was it from one of those journeys?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I've always wanted to sing my entire life, and but when I was younger, I had someone really close to me when I was 10 tell me that I couldn't sing. And, me being a 10-year-old and someone you really care about telling you that, I just completely shut down. So it was something that honestly became like a phobia for me. The thought of singing, I wouldn't even speak out loud. I wouldn't write it in my journal because it became too real. So I was just trying to hide from it so much that eventually it was going to come up. And it was that one thing I always wanted to do. And I think, in doing multiple ceremonies with ayahuasca, it kept coming up. But there was one ceremony, it was, whether this is real or not, it showed me that I would manifest this fear into a disease of some kind, and it would be in my gut, and I was going to die from just holding this so tightly within myself. Um, and I kept trying to throw it up. I'm like, no, 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 get it out. Like, let's pretend like that's not really the case. And I finally realized, like, no, the only way I'm able to move through this is by allowing myself to sing and just doing it and stop being so afraid of it. So that next day, I walked into our sharing circle of 25 people and sang for the first time in front of everybody, and everyone's just, in tears, and it became this whole thing. But even after that, I was still so terrified to do it and to sing in front of people because I felt like I was just going to be judged and people wouldn't love me, and it became this whole thing. It was so dramatic. And finally hired a vocal coach just to help me flex that muscle of singing in front of somebody. And I would have to take like a beta blocker, that blocks adrenaline, just to go into my vocal lessons with my coach, just to get through it because I was that terrified. And finally, it's just kind of helped open myself up and use it. And he asked me to come sing in the studio for him. And the owner of the studio was there, Matt Nevesky, from Blue October. And he was like, look, I don't I'm not looking at taking on any artists, but there's something here if you want to do this, you just have to say yes. And that's been my motto through this entire thing at this point is just say yes and then figure out how you're going to deal with the consequences after and how you're going to work through the fear afterwards. And ever since that moment, that's what I've been doing. And that was 2020. That was during, height of COVID, and started working on it, started writing, recording. And now I moved to Nashville, CMT.com premiered my first music video. People just premiered my second single, and like, we're going for it. There are no breaks.
So that person that said you couldn't sing, is that person still in your life all these years later?
Mm-hmm. They have no idea. And for me, I've thought about this. I don't think it's necessary for me to tell them because I think it would cause them more pain than anything. And I'm in such a place now that I'm doing the one thing I've always wanted to be doing. And I think I had to go through that process and hold myself back all of those years to have the tenacity and the resilience and the strength to just go balls to the wall.
So we wanted to surprise you, though. That person is here. Please welcome. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. That'd be really bad. They just came out like, oh, my God, this is why you brought me on the show? Like, what are you doing?
Turns into Dr. Phil.
So let me ask you this. You're still so young in your career, your music career, but you're actually doing really, really well, which is amazing. It's really cool and exciting to see how, quick your career is blowing up at so as you're still like learning stuff, you're still trying to get better at the guitar. You're still trying to learn more about your own, personal songwriting and ability and voice. Why do some people, in your opinion, make it and some people don't? Like we see, some maybe especially in Nashville, you see some of the most talented music artists and no one ever heard of them. But then there's some other person that's really kind of blowing up. What's the difference between those people and the other ones? Like what have you noticed about the business or the people?
The music business, I always say, is like gambling. Like you're gambling. You don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. And I think you have to be in it for yourself because you're going to hear a lot of yeses from people like, oh, you're a star. And you just have to take it with a grain of salt. But you're also going to hear a lot of no's and you have to take that with a grain of salt. And so I think as long as you're in it for yourself and like, I really enjoy doing this and I'm happy doing this, it kind of lessens the external validation or, external hate that you can get from a lot of people. So, at the end of the day, I really think you just have to understand that a lot of luck goes into music and you just don't know what's going to hit and what's not going to hit. So you just got to do it for yourself.
I was thinking about that moment that I saw you had a big old billboard and you're posing out next to. Was that your first billboard?
Yeah, it's my first billboard. I couldn't believe it.
That is really cool. That has got to be a very cool moment. Walk me through when you pulled up to see the billboard. What is that like?
Well, so when I moved here a year ago, I had my best friend actually moved here with me, which has been great having like a piece of home here with me. And she's a graphic designer, an amazing graphic designer, but I had her Photoshop me on that sign. And I was like, I am manifesting this. I'm going to be on that damn sign. And it's called the Nashville sign. It's like one of the biggest signs in Nashville that everybody knows about. And so when I heard we were going to be on the Nashville sign, I just about passed out and peed my pants all at the same time. But so that it's going to happen. They let you know. And so you get to go out there and it's like you don't know when it's going to pop up. So you're waiting and you're waiting. I kept saying it was like roulette. And I was like, oh, I just hit black 15, because every time it would come up, we would just lose our minds. Like, ah! It was just so cool. And I was even, I go through this experience. I feel like I'm the like star eyes emoji, like every day. There's some days that just totally suck. And I feel like I'm terrible and I shouldn't be doing this. And all of those, doubt spirals of death that I tend to put myself in every once in a while. But this morning I was walking to go get my coffee and I was just walking back and I was just looking around thinking, holy hell, like I live in Nashville. I was just on a billboard last week. Like I'm making music. If I could tell myself, my younger self, like even 2.5 years ago, like this is what your life is going to look like, I don't think she would believe it. And I think like you just have to have so much awe and gratitude for what's happening around you. Like even the smallest thing, it sounds so cliche, but it changes the game. Like it really just changes the game. And that's what keeps me going and keeps me encouraged, particularly on the days that I feel like I suck and I don't deserve any of this.
With all that positive energy, I got to think about another country artist. Has Chase Rice, I know you just did a show with him, you just did some gig together at Super Bowl. Has he hit on you yet?
No, well, we had a friend of ours tried to hook us up like way back in the day, but no, me and Chase are homies. That's it.
Was your friend a very big person, very successful business person?
No.
Okay. Because I had someone else who tried to someone else who I know who's a successful business person tried to hook someone else up with Chase Rice. But I've been told that this guy Chase Rice is like the Coxman of Nashville. Like this guy gets around. I was like, man, they're like, yeah, this guy, like, he's good. He's not like he's a very successful music artist, but he's not like the Blake Shelton vibe yet. But people know who he is. He's very talented, but like people come to Nashville and they see him, and then he's just like, he's their star for the night.
Yeah, I mean, he loves to venture out, loves to have a good time. He's always, I mean, Chase is just like a fun dude. You know what I mean? Like for me, I would prefer to just be his friend. Such a fun human being to be around. Happy go lucky, like country. I don't know. He's a fun guy.
How political is the music industry? When I mean political, I mean not like, red or blue, whatever. I'm saying like just like the politics in the business make a difference. Like for you, are they saying, okay, we need your vibe. Like we don't want you to grow your hair long. We want you to be short hair. Obviously I've known you since you have short hair, but we want you to keep that short hair vibe because it's much different. Like the politics in the business. Are you seeing a lot of that now in the industry, or at least in your career? Have people approached you and said, do this, do that, because you're trying to fit some sort of niche?
I feel pretty lucky that, because I know that's very real in this business, of people just trying to mold you into what they think is going to work. I feel pretty lucky that I'm different enough, from the blonde hair, blue eye, long Carrie Underwood type, that they're not trying to put me in that box. As a matter of fact, they're like, we want you to be like the badass girl of country, which is what I feel naturally for me. If they wanted me to try to be a Kelsey Ballerini, that's not going to work. That's not going to work for me. And, at this point, I've waited so long to do this one thing that I am certainly not going to try to do it their way. So we'll see how it goes. I'm still very green to it, but so far I've been lucky that they want me to be who I am. And I like that.
That's awesome. By the way, how was the Super Bowl? How was going to Arizona, the parties? I saw you holding the Lombardi trophy. Like, how did that all come down?
Yeah, the Super Bowl was so much fun. And that was one of my, bigger gigs that I had just gotten. I got to open for Chase Rice and Brian Kelly. And that was just shocking to me. I thought I was so nervous. I thought about like, maybe I should just wreck my car on the way there so then I don't have to do it. But overall, we had so much fun. It was for Chill Cowboy Country Club, which is an organization here. And they threw a huge party. They had like Moneybag Yo perform that night. And after I performed, we went where Adam was at the SI Sports Illustrated party, which was bonkers. That was insane. And
did you guys run into each other out there?
No, I'm so mad I didn't get to see her. I was like, it's the last party before the Super Bowl. So by that time I'm already so exhausted and I'm so I'm in a different mindset because I'm just so drained. And I was flying out literally the next morning at 7:30. So I was on some Adderall just trying to keep going. But and also where we were, it was also so dark. Like I remember, like I don't know if it's just me getting older, but like I need a lantern to walk around a party. Just like hold a lantern and just get around because I was like bumping into people, dude. It's so bad. Like I'm like literally walking around with a lighter, just trying to see if I could find people.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
I can't see.
But there was a lot of people. Actually, I like I said last week at my table, there was a Guy Fieri and Dave Portnoy was at my table, and I didn't see. I saw her at another party the night before, but there's one person who it was the star of Super Bowl weekend, the one where everyone just wanted to see her, get a photo with her, just get a glimpse of her, was this girl, social media star Alex Earl, which again, she's very pretty, but she so there's a lot of people there. Like everyone looked like Alex Earl in some way
Yeah.
there. Dude, who did you see at the party? Anyone cool? Like just hanging out besides the performers?
Yeah, we were. I was trying to. Alex Rodriguez was there,
Yeah, yeah.
but
So yes, I was. Wait, were you on the floor?
yeah.
I was too. I was right next to A-Rod. So he was like right
Okay.
next. The
So I
chain
walked
smokers
right
were on,
past
and I didn't even notice him. The funniest part is, sorry, I'm just taking over. Dex, when A-Rod's there, he's watching with his girlfriend and her friend. They're watching the chain smokers, and the chain smokers are performing like 15 feet in front of him. Right next to A-Rod, facing A-Rod, just like this, just looking at him, is his bodyguard. And it's like the oddest thing for A-Rod just sit there and try to dance with this like huge black guy just facing him next to him, just standing next to him, just it's just an odd, and it stands out because every person brings a bodyguard. It's like the ultimate flex. But so you saw A-Rod. Who else do you see with?
Yeah, I mean, I'm friends with like my friend Danny Amendola was there with his
Yeah, I saw him.
girlfriend,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Julian Edelman, like, and I know of them. Who else? Baker Mayfield, and so we're all friends. So like seeing them wasn't super crazy to me. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was right next to them on the floor. And then we had another table up and about. But being on the floor during the chain smokers, I thought my eyeballs were going to vibrate out of my head. It was so loud. Did you
Yeah.
feel that? Like it was just like it was crazy.
You know what? My voice goes. I lose my voice every Super Bowl weekend because it's just trying to talk over all that noise. Where by the end of the week, I can't even talk. I'm whispering wherever I go because, hearing the Chainsmokers perform and the Chainsmokers, they were fun. They milked it. Machine Gun Kelly was great. I gotta tell you, Machine Gun Kelly, like the crowd really wasn't getting into it, but like he moves around, like he's fun, like he's it's a
Yeah,
fun show. You weren't into it.
no, I love when people move around. Like I want you to be animated as hell on stage, but for some reason I just couldn't. I don't know what it was.
The crowd wasn't into it, and I felt like he knew it. Like the crowd's like sitting there talking as he's performing, and then he started to climb like a ladder and stuff, that climb like the set and try to get people into it, I guess. But that was the night where it was the last time we saw him, when I guess he was going through some stuff with Megan Fox.
Yeah.
Now, what's next for you? Obviously, in your career is starting to blow up. Now that people see that, hey, you're on a billboard. Hey, you just performed at the Super Bowl. Hey, I'm starting to become a name in the Nashville scene. What is your emails? What is your DMs? Are people starting to reach out to you, and how do you kind of manage all that and say, okay, this is the right direction, or this person's not a person I should deal with?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely gaining steam, which is super exciting for me. And I have a team that helps me kind of decipher who we like and who fits, with me and who doesn't. And really for me, I'm a vibes person. If I like you, I will sit down and entertain a conversation and kind of like see what that makes sense. But if I have like a weird vibe on someone, I just don't deal with it. It's just
Let me
not
ask you.
part of my.
I want to ask this question, and I know it sounds really weird, but I think people are just very curious, and just the general public are curious. Like here you are, attractive female in the music scene, still doing well, but still in some any like those creepy guys where you feel like hey, I could help you, but their motives are a little bit skewed. They're just
Yeah. But I think you get that, and at least I've gotten that in every career that I've been in. You know what I mean? So then that's what I mean by if I'm around, particularly a male or a female within the industry that says I can do all of these things, if I get a weird vibe from you, I will not work with you. It's not something that I'm going to do. I'm not going to put myself in that situation. And I do feel like, coming into this a little bit later in life, I know my pickers a little bit better these days, and I'm not just showing up and putting myself in awkward situations or uncomfortable situations that I shouldn't be in. And so I think as long as I keep that, I can stay safe. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous that we even have to have that conversation. But it's real, and it's very real for particularly women within any sort of entertainment industry, unfortunately.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how creepy is Adam's vibe right now?
I'm pretty creepy. I'm pretty creepy.
Always been a little creepy.
I get it. Trust me, I get it. It's the voice. It's my hat. I know, dude. I get it. I get it.
I've always loved Adam. You always.
Whitney's fun.
Yeah.
She's fun. She's good. She's a good time. She's good energy. So who's like, like in your DMs, like now that you're doing music, who's like the one person that reached out? Have you had someone in your DMs kind of show up like, dude, this is cool stuff. This was just like an awesome compliment, or just who was that person that reached out to you? Like, I'm just liking what you're doing. That was just, it was one of those things that just made you feel like, holy shit, I'm doing this.
Dude, I don't know. I'm not sure. My DMs aren't as popping off as most people think. Like, people think I get hit on all the time in my DMs, and like I don't really get a lot of creeps in my DMs. I get a lot of really nice messages, which I love. So thank you, fans, for being nice. But I don't know if there's like one person that I was blown away by yet.
Well, how much does
anyone come up to you in person after a show or after a performance, whatever? They come up to you and there's like, oh, I really am enjoying your stuff, and it's that kind of like fangirl out moment.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I've been at parties where like, I mean, I'm big into like Miranda Lambert. She was like my homie. And I had a friend of mine, and Gretchen Wilson, and I had a friend of mine reach out to Gretchen and was like, hey, we need to sit down and write with this girl. And he sent her my stuff, and she responded like, hell yeah, let's do that. I love it. And so for me, it wasn't directly towards me, but I'm like this close to writing with my idol, which is going to be huge.
That's cool.
That's really cool. Die, but you always hear don't meet your heroes, but I feel like she's gonna be dope. We're gonna get along.
But I also think you're dope. I think people just like hanging out with you. Like, they're not your average country person, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think vibe wise, you're Whitney. You're just cool, and I think people just they'll as soon as they get to hang out with you, they'll just like vibe with you and just kind of like to hang out with you, just become friends, not even colleagues per se. It's like we don't need, which is you're a good time. You're a good time. You're cool. She gets it. Whitney's been around. She gets it.
I appreciate that. And that's the thing when it comes to songwriting, really, is you really have to like the person that you write with. And Nashville's very big on relationships. If they don't like you, like, you'll get kicked out of this real quick. But when it comes to songwriting, you're in a room with someone for like 3 or 4 hours. So you better like who you're with. And so one of the things that I always say, to people who are wanting to figure out how to write with people is like, be someone that people want to hang out with. Like, be nice, be cool, be genuine, because if they don't want to spend 4 hours with you, they're not going to end up sitting down and writing with you.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Whitney, you've been awesome. This has been really fun. Thank you for stopping by, hanging out with us. If you guys want to hear her new single, 15 Minutes of Fame, you can Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, anywhere else that I'm forgetting that it is streaming.
All the places, wherever.
All the streams.
All the streams, wherever you're like to get your music, I'm on there.
I love it. And you can follow her on social media, Wit and Love. You are a good follow on social media, I must say. You're fun, you're entertaining, and you take really good photos.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
No, this has been fun. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for just chatting with us for an hour and hearing all your adventures of coming up in this world. I love it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. It was a lot of fun. We talked about everything.
Whitney's awesome. Whitney's great. Yo, me and Whitney, we went to a conference together. We met, and we just had vibed really well. She was just a lot of fun, good energy. Like, we're just like one of those people just to like, I don't know, it's like good mood, good energy, and we have fun.
You know what I like about having her on is that I feel like she's one of those people that are going to keep blowing up. And then we're going to have like one of those like big stars on our podcast from years ago be like, hey, we had Whitney Miller on. You know what I'm saying? Like, get them as they're going up in their trajectory.
Yeah, she's really been blowing up lately. So it's cool to have her. And it's also kind of cool to hear like their life now from like the creepy guys you deal with in the music industry, which she was very open on to. You know, I respect her talking about how she used to be in an open relationship. You know, like it's one of those things where, you know, eventually one day she's going to have some huge publicist saying, don't talk about this stuff. But it was a phase in her life when she was in an open relationship. And the guy she was with is a guy named Aubrey Marcus, who's like the mayor of Austin. He was the creator and owner of On It, which is a big fitness brand, and has created this huge fitness community down in Austin, Texas. And she was engaged to him for quite some bit, and she was like the princess, the queen of Austin. And then they broke up, and she said, I'm going to get out of town. And now she started her music career, and it's like now here she is, like about to go on tour, coming up with big music, and like she's on the peak of like it's starting to happen, which is kind of fun. But she's very cool and open. So thank you for Whitney for coming on the podcast. Make sure you guys check out her music. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're on it all. We have this private Facebook group called Off the Record, which I highly suggest you guys should join it. It's been so much fun just kind of keep up with you guys, and everyone's like, it's just like a really cool group, right, Dax?
It's awesome. The amount of things that I even learn from our listeners in the podcast group, I love it. It's like I'll get in the morning and they're dropping links to stories that are breaking before I've even seen it, or they also just call us out on our shit, which I kind of appreciate. You know what I'm saying? Like you say something and you go in there and they're like, I didn't like that you said this, but I appreciate, you know, and I feel that it keeps me honest, or like makes me rethink about something that I've said, or maybe I'll say it different next time. So I don't know. I love our podcast group. I like that. I feel like they're our friends.
Yes. Follow me at Adam Glyn, Glyn. Follow Dax Holt at Dax Holt. We'll see you guys next time. See ya.
Bye.
What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more where that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on. Let's go.